Hello everyone, in this first lesson we'll be looking at the banana module. What this actually does is, if you open it here, you'll understand it very clearly. You provide a single image and it processes that image, trying to turn it into a highly realistic render. The important thing you need to know here is this. This visual can be a slightly lit image like this, or it can be a more raw visual with no lighting at all, like a render made in SketchUp, or it could even be a very advanced, highly worked render. It doesn't matter. The important thing is the working principle. It enhances the visual you provide by adding people, vehicles, trees, the environment, adding lighting, and visualizing the interiors behind the glass to create a realistic visual. Here, interior or exterior doesn't matter at all. For example, let's upload one. Look, this is an interior visual, as you can see. Yes, once you've uploaded the image, the important thing to note is that the settings here are very important. Look, I recommend you start by working with the advanced mode. Here there's a soft model, there's contrast, clay, and balance. Now what do these actually mean? You should think of it like this. There are many AI models on the market right now. These could be, for example, Nano Banana Flux or Seedream. There are many AI models that edit visuals. We use a blend of these in the background. Therefore, we're a bit hesitant to give them specific names because we're constantly updating them. Meaning, if one of the models gets an update, or if we find a model that performs much better, we update it with that one. So the name you see here is always just a mask. So to make it easier for you to use without constant changes, we mask the models here because the system we use in the background can change. You know, a lot of updates are coming out. Things are happening in AI every day. That's why we've masked them like this. Here, by working with the soft model, you can get much more realistic results. At the same time, the balance model and the contrast model are working very well right now. However, the clay model is a bit weak at the moment, but we will strengthen it in the future. Now, in advanced mode, we've selected soft and we're choosing 2K Pro. It's an interior visual, and let's render it. Look, during this render, you need to know this. As you can see right now, it's just a screenshot taken from SketchUp, nothing more. It will now try to render this. Let's see what kind of result we'll get. Yes, as you can see, the process is complete. When compared to our raw render, you can see it created a very realistic render. It produced a fantastic render without changing almost any of the furniture. Let's download it. Now let's try another option again. For example, standard. This time let's try the same model again, an interior scene, so you can see the difference. This will be a slightly faster process and its credit cost is lower. While we render with 2K Pro for 30 credits, here with standard we can render for 10 credits. And also when doing a standard render it works much faster, as you can see here. If you want, you can also generate different alternatives here, meaning more than one variation. Now if you work with the balance model, you can still generate alternatives from here and you can still work with a low credit cost. 10 credits. I want you to understand what these models do by generating quickly. These work fast, everyone. Yes, as you can see, the balance model added a few more details like people and so on, but as you can see here, the lighting and everything, how should I put it, looks a bit artificial, but you can still use this if you're in the concept phase of your work. Let's also try the contrast model. Yes, with the contrast model, as you can see, our render is done, but it kind of made things up. It changed the angle. Normally the window was on this side, but it moved it over to that side and so on. Our contrast model tried to change the scene a bit. Let's take another look at our clay model. Yes, as you can see with our clay model, it made the background more realistic and added people. But it also turned the dog here into a very realistic dog. Yes, so now you've understood the logic behind it. So basically the fastest shot we can get is with the soft model and 2K Pro. This way we can directly create a fast realistic render. As you can see here, let me show you again clearly. Look, it turned out to be a very nice render. Now this is the advanced mode. It can work this fast. Look, I want to mention something here. This was an interior scene. You can also upload any exterior scene. For example, we have a visual like this. Let's take a quick look at it. As you can see, it's a very simple visual. You can use much different visuals if you want, meaning you can use a visual like this, no problem at all. For example, you could also use a visual like this. When you upload this here, everyone, let's see, For example, let's upload one of these. Let's upload the one we first looked at. For example, let's upload this one. When you upload it, you can again use 2K Pro to create a great render in a single shot, everyone. It's quite fast and very accurate, so if you want to get a fast render, this is the process to follow. Yes, it consumes 30 credits, but it works in a very stable, very realistic and very impressive way, everyone. Yes, as you can see, let's show the render we provided again. We gave it the render like this, and as a result, we got a result like this, everyone. Pay attention, the materials here didn't change, everyone. It just changed the lighting a bit, and because it processed the interiors, we got a very realistic result. It processed the interiors very quickly. Pay attention to the interiors, because in architectural projects, it's very important for the visuals to have such good interiors. So it's quite important, everyone. Of course, we can improve on this later, but for now, since I'm explaining this module, I want to move on quickly. Look, for example, we have a visual like this here. I want to show this as well. For instance, this is a furniture visual, a visual like this with the background removed. If you want, you can also select and import this, and let's see what kind of result we get when we render it with 2K Pro again. Yes, everyone, look, it's truly incredible. This model you're seeing, let's take another look at this furniture. This furniture, as you can see, look, it used the furniture directly without changing anything, not even the colors. It created a fantastic visual this way. This is something that will radically change the furniture industry in particular. Everyone, you can create visuals like this very quickly. With your furniture, a photo you've taken, you can do this very easily just by taking a photo. Now, I want to continue with visuals in different styles. To help you understand the working logic of this, again, I want to import a visual like this. This visual this time is another SketchUp image, and as you can see, it doesn't have any landscape or anything like that. Again, I'm rendering directly with 2K Pro. The contrast balance and clay here, you can try these. Especially if your goal is to create the surrounding landscape in various ways. Generate variations by creating different landscapes, and then choose from among those variations. You can increase the variations by using the standard version of the soft model. But with 2K Pro, we can get a render in a single shot. I especially want to show this so we can get to the result directly without spending too many credits, everyone. These models, when we started making this software, we wrote these models. But as new models arrive, we change the system here. We add different options, so the situation changes a bit. Yes, look, as you can see, it rendered very quickly. But of course, we have a problem here. For example, it enlarged the pool this much, expanded the area a bit, and so on. Yes, it didn't change our architectural project, but it enlarged the pool, for example. We can encounter errors like this. There are ways to edit them. I'll show you these in future lessons. But it's a pretty nice render. Let's save this one as well. Now, there's a second mode related to the banana module, creative mode. This advanced mode works quickly. The creative mode, on the other hand, tries to generate your given visual a bit more creatively, meaning it tries to create the surroundings, the environment, in more varied ways. It tries to create it with different lighting. For example, in creative, in soft mode, when we try to render the same visual again with 2K Pro, let's see what kind of result we'll get. If you use this creative mode, balance, soft and standard, you can create very interesting variations on this plane. I recommend you try it. And of course, you need to have a good amount of credits to do these kinds of experiments and understand how the system works. But I want you to know this. Advanced is very fast and allows you to get quick results in a single shot. But if you're looking for a bit of an adventure to create different options, to produce different alternatives in lighting and landscape, you can use the creative mode with the soft or balance modes. Again, with soft, you can use standard, not pro, although pro is also an option. I say standard for this reason. You can create multiple variations, or with balance, you can create different alternatives by generating multiple variations. Look, now that I've chosen creative, notice that it created many things correctly. But the background, well, it placed it in a different way. How should I put it? Not in the city, but somewhere in nature, in a location. You can generate different alternatives like this, meaning every time you click, the environment here will be different. Therefore, you can work a bit more creatively in this mode as well. It's worth a try. But I definitely recommend the advanced mode for getting results quickly, everyone. This variation issue is very important. Especially in creative mode, when you select soft standard and then, for example, tell it to generate 5 variations, the system will automatically use the creative mode we've selected to generate a total of 5 variations for us. I want to draw your attention to this. Even if this is advanced, you can still create variations, but in creative mode, you'll see that each visual has a different style, meaning it works a bit more freely, everyone. Yes, as you can see, look, it produced 5 alternatives. Each one of them used a different landscape. Yes, let's say you like this one, for example. Let's take it and download it again like this. Right from this one, like this. You can just grab it, and this time you can render it by selecting 2K Pro in advanced mode. So what have you decided on here? A landscape that you didn't have before has now been created. This landscape didn't exist before. The surrounding landscapes and so on weren't there. But now it exists. Now you can visualize it this way, meaning you can make the landscape decision by generating some alternatives and then turn it into a realistic render. That's basically the topic. I also recommend you try balance here. It gives very nice results. Soft does too, but balance also gives very nice results. Contrast does too. It's worth a try, everyone. So that's how it is. I hope I've explained the topic well. For any of your visuals, especially if it's an apartment flat, a spire, a tower, any kind of residential project you can think of, you can see the results by trying these one by one. I've tried to show a few alternatives as much as possible. Now I'll show one more and I'll end the lesson here. I don't want to drag it out too long. Yes, as you can see, look, it rendered this landscape this way. We've achieved a more realistic result. We have different modules in our software. I'm explaining what each of them does one by one. With these visuals, we have a chance to achieve even better results, everyone. Finally, let's visualize a tower like this. I want to show this visual, everyone, like this. As you can see, we have a well-modeled tower, but its surroundings are very simply created. We want to visualize this with a quick single-shot process. Let's see what kind of result we get. Yes, as you can see, it changed the angle a bit and zoomed in. It created an interesting visual like this. Sometimes we might like things like this, but it's not good that it changed the angle here. The reason for this is as follows, everyone. Especially with these types of angles, you need to set the framing very well. It's a good idea to frame it vertically, say in a 9:16 format. Then it will render it without any issues. It definitely has a tendency to sometimes create different angles. It's really hard to prevent this. But depending on the situation, we can also use what it produces. I want to show one more thing. For example, a housing project like this, a 3 or 4 story housing project. Let's visualize this really quickly and see what kind of result it produces. Yes, look, we were able to quickly achieve such a high quality result for this visual, quickly and without changing our architectural project. Here, as you can see, it created some stains on the facades. Of course, we have alternatives to get rid of these. Alternatives we can use to edit them, meaning we can even make local revisions. I'll show you these in upcoming lessons. So that's how the banana module works, everyone. If you'd like, you can also watch this video to get some brief information, everyone.